Backed by popular demand, here's part 2 of the Mitsu cars that managed to stay out of the limelight for the common man. Let's dive right in. This should cover just about everything else, including the ones you've mentioned in the comments. But if there's anything you feel I've left out, be sure to let me know. Number 1. The Mitsubishi Galant and its multiple insanely rare variants, including the Legnum Super VR4 and AMG Galant. Now that one really caught me off guard. Let's cover some general history of the Galant for context along the way. Selling over 5 million accumulated units over 9 distinct generations to global markets, the Mitsubishi Galant has surely paved its way as a sedan in the car market. The name Galant was derived from the same French word galant, meaning chivalrous. Manufactured between the years of 1969 and 2012, the vehicle came in vastly varying forms and performance abilities. The Colt Galant made its debut in December 1969 as the first Mitsubishi model to bear the name Galant. Powered by 1.3 and 1.5 liter engines, the vehicles entered into the highway era, developed to the key phrases of, quote, more beautiful, higher performance, wider, quieter, and more luxurious. All of that with 87 horsepower. Wow. The Galant proceeded to gradually improve in general practicality, usability, and power through multiple iterations as it inched toward the modern automotive era. Available from 1987 through 2002, generations 6 through 8, the VR4 trim was added, topping the range. VR4 stands for Viscous Real-Time 4-Wheel Drive. Plain and simple. Featuring initially for Gen 6 and 7, of course, 4-wheel drive, but also 4-wheel steering and power courtesy of the fabled 4G63T engine through a 5-speed manual gearbox. Cutting-edge performance and technology for the era. This speed-sensitive 4-wheel steering was removed for the 8th gen, but allowed for the rear wheels to be steered in coordination with the front wheels above 30 miles per hour, moving up to 1.5 degrees. Reports from owners suggest that most delete the 4-wheel steering as the cars age, due to complexity and reliability concerns. The design is expensive to repair, grows prone to leaks, and is rumored to cause some inconsistency or unpredictability in corners. Over the years, for the Mark I generation, various trim levels arose before moving on to the next generation entirely. R and RS trims were added, with various minor differences. The 1990 Monte Carlo edition, a special luxury evolution model to celebrate success in the Rally of Monte Carlo, had various drivetrain upgrades to celebrate Mitsubishi's success in the stage. Sporting a metallic paint job, close ratio gearbox, LSD rear end with a higher 3.909 gear ratio, and interior amenities often missed in other trims. Rumored to also incorporate a 35/65 center differential and stronger axles better suited for on and off tarmac. Of course, with regard to the Rally Monte Carlo. And the Armed by Rally Art VR4 in 1991, featuring some Rally Art goodies and a motorized, actively adjustable rear wing. Specified details as to which of these variants came with or without what is quite difficult to come by, though Rally Art part numbers can be found via old catalog references. The AMG Galant. Yes, that AMG. The one that most people associate with Mercedes-Benz in the modern day. Limited to, I believe, 526 initial units produced, and only 289 of those with a 5-speed manual, the AMG Galant featured a naturally aspirated 4G63 tuned by AMG with new pistons, titanium valve springs, new exhaust manifold, and upgraded camshafts that would allow for a screaming 8,000 RPM redline. This produced 168 brake horsepower, which was a considerable amount for an NA 4-cylinder in 1989. Curiously based on the 2-liter GDI Galant over an all-wheel drive turbo VR4, this vehicle remained front-wheel drive. Complete with AMG styling to match, the variant came in a Type 1 or Type 2 designation. The Type 1 being the most aggressive of the two, wearing an AMG branded body kit and extended rear wing, in addition to an upscale interior with wood trim. Type 2 was finished with a standard VR4 style body kit, with still matching performance metrics. With 839 units produced, both Type 1 and Type 2 details and production numbers are hard to confirm, but all units were manufactured for the Japanese market only. This wasn't the only time the AMG touch was applied to something we may consider random. such as another Mitsubishi, the Debonair 5 3000 Royal AMG, an extremely obscure AMG EG Civic, coined the Blade, perhaps information for another time. This rare piece of automotive history will remain an interesting blip in time, but won't have a lasting enthusiast pull due to its front-wheel drive non-turbo layout. VR4 was Mitsubishi's FIA homologated platform to compete in the new Group A era of the World Rally Championship. The Galant VR4 has been regarded as the base for Lancer Evolution dominance in the WRC, earning the nickname Evo Zero with some classic enthusiasts, though this designation was never formally actualized or badged in any known way. According to Mitsubishi Motors, the Galant VR4's debut in the WRC was in New Zealand in July of 1988. The vehicle went on to win several rally stages. Originally piloted by Kenjiro Shinozuka, winning races in Malaysia and Australia, Shinozuka went on to win the final Asia-Pacific Rally Championship round, the Himalayan Rally, to become the very first champion of the newly created APRC. Mitsubishi appointed other drivers, allowing for continued competition with the Galant, while making incremental vehicle improvements, allowing for continued success carried through the 1000 Lakes Rally and the Rally of the Ivory Coast. The Mitsubishi Motors team planned to debut their Group A Lancer Evo, announced in 1991, in the Rally of Monte Carlo, the opening round of the 1993 season. This required a cease to any major development of the Galant VR4, and reduced the number of rally entries in 1992 to 6. Despite this, improvements on the Galant VR4 were carried out at each race, and a lightweight version was introduced weighing in at under 1,200 kilograms. Shinozuka took his second victory in a row at the Ivory Coast Rally held in October of 1992, bringing the Galant VR4 to a total of 6 WRC wins. The Royal Automobile Club Rally, or RAC, was the last WRC participation for the Galant VR4. The vehicle was cemented as a component of Mitsubishi's triumphant rally heritage. The Mitsubishi Legnum is an estate or station wagon variant of the 8th generation Mitsubishi Galant. Introduced in 1996, its name comes from the word regnum, which is translated from Latin as royal title. Compared to the sedan Galant, the vehicle offered far more cabin space, allowing for a comfortable and roomy interior, while still retaining excellent handling characteristics and a relatively sleek appearance. The 8th generation Galant and Legnum VR4 powertrain utilized a twin-turbocharged 2.5-liter dual-overhead cam V6, the 6A13, producing 276 horsepower at 5,500 RPM and 270 pound-feet of torque after receiving a slight boost in the facelift models after 1998. Pre-facelift models clocked in at just slightly lower, believed to be detuned slightly in interest of protecting the automatic transmission that later proved itself more capable. All these power figures also conveniently fit below the gentleman's agreement of the era to an advertised power limit of 276 horsepower. Beside the slight buff in power, facelift models received updated front and rear fascias, including an altered tailgate section on the Legnum. The hood was also updated with an ever so slightly more aggressive cowl center section. Facelift models produced from 1998 onwards were categorized as Type V or Type S. Type V vehicles came equipped with power windows, AC, power steering, and four-wheel drive, lacking an active yaw control rear differential, more commonly referred to as AYC. Essentially, the Type V is your entry-level VR4. Type S vehicles also came equipped with small fender flare extensions, CD player, special illuminated dash cluster, upgraded interior, and fitted with slightly wider wheels and tires. Specs on screen for the data nerds. This means that the facelift wheels actually have 2 mm extra clearance on the inside and stick out an extra 14. It goes without saying that there is quite some niche jargon to be known when referring to these cars, but it's generally understood by collectors and enthusiasts alike looking to get their hands on just the right one. The Mitsubishi Legnum won the Car of the Year award in Japan for 1996 to 97. To commemorate this achievement, a special trim was added. Only available pre-facelift, the Car of the Year edition vehicles all came pearl white, paint code W75, over the standard solid white. All automatic and sporting a black leather interior, diamond cut finish set of 5-spoke NK wheels, and Car of the Year badging on the D-pillars. Fancy. Also available in the year 1998 only was the extremely limited production Super VR4 variant. According to my research, passionate data collectors confirmed via VIN lists that only 369 total Supers were ever made. 84 Super VR4 Gallants and 283 Super Legnums. Since they were only produced in 2 colors, Hamilton Silver and Redma, a bright red, we can narrow down the rarity a step further. Only 18 red and 67 silver Super VR4 Gallants were ever produced. As for the Legnum, only 28 red and 256 in Hamilton Silver, leaving a red Super VR4 of either kind a sight to behold, especially the Redma Gallant. But we'll take all of these hyper-specific numerics with a grain of salt. The Super VR4 came most noticeably with an aggressive body kit consisting of a front lip, side skirts, rear valence, and tall wing, an Evo-style high-rise for the sedan, and a biplane roof spoiler for the wagon. Interior upgrades consisted of Recaro front seats, a Momo steering wheel, black and red mats, matching red fleck door cards, and high-vis purple gauge cluster. Also inside, you'll find a red leather wrapped gear selector and handbrake lever, with a silver shift cover plate. Much of these minor interior upgrades later became standard on facelift models. Additionally, you can find optioned rally art suspension and muffler tip. No Super model came equipped with a sun or moonroof option, all slick tops, which is often better for weight distribution and simplicity's sake for enthusiasts. The interior of the headlight housings were also paint matched to body color, making for a distinctive but subtle giveaway as a Super VR4 model. The 9th and final generation of Gallant said its demise. This United States-sourced model was available for sale in regional markets across varying year ranges, including of course the USA, Puerto Rico, Russia, Ukraine, Arabia, Canada, Mexico, a lot of places. A significant increase in size led to increased interior and storage space, but also caused a weight gain of several hundred pounds, affecting performance. The 9th gen came exclusively front-wheel drive with no turbo option available. Utilizing an upgrade from the older 2.4-liter 4G64 engine, the 4G69 cranked out 160 horsepower over the previous 140, while maintaining the same displacement. How riveting. Clearly, performance was low on the priority totem pole. The V6 model offered a 3.8-liter, providing 235 horsepower and 250 pound-feet of torque, much less lethargic. In 2007, the uncommon Rally Art variant put out 258 horsepower, via the same V6 upgraded to be at least considered class competitive. Along came a firmer suspension with a front strut brace, rear sway bar, and 18-inch wheels reminiscent of the Lancer. Additionally, it featured Eclipse-style projector headlights, an updated front fascia, and an updated infotainment system. The final Mitsubishi Galant rolled off the assembly line in the United States on August 30th, 2012. The Mitsubishi Concept ZT that was unveiled in 2007 at the 40th Tokyo Motor Show was initially expected to become the 10th generation Galant, but this never came to fruition. Fitted with a 2.2-liter turbo diesel 4N14 engine and SST dual-clutch transmission, this car was built on a body of aluminum construction and exterior and interior panels manufactured primarily out of environmentally conscious recycled plastic resin. The vehicle produced 188 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque, sent to all 4 wheels utilizing the company's SAWC system. Nothing ever came of this concept sedan, despite market expectations. I feel as though the Gallant's legacy has been diluted by its variants over time. For much of its life, it was your run-of-the-mill compact sedan, and for a period came as a wolf in sheep's clothing, able to take on the best of the era, even off-road. Even though its production has been halted over a decade ago, I think everyone will have some sort of memory of these common sedans. Just maybe not a red Super VR4. This sedan's performance variance will forever be overshadowed by the Lancer Evolution. making the late gallant always appreciated, but rarely missed. Number 2. The HSR-2 concept, 1989, envisioning the old future. According to unclear sources, the Mitsubishi HSR is a range of concept cars developed by Mitsubishi Motors through the late 1980s and 90s. There were 6 distinct iterations of the vehicle released biannually to coincide with the Tokyo Motor Show, with each model after the original identified by a Roman numeral suffixed to the name. The meaning of the acronym varied over the years, with the first being high-speed running research, high sophisticated research, human science research, and so on. So take your pick. HSR-1, 1987, pioneering electronic integration.
This is David Taylor, aged 3. By the time he's looking for a new car, he'll expect it to have 4-wheel drive, 4-wheel steering, infrared navigation and communication systems, and dynamic safety-matched performance. David Taylor, your new car is ready. The Mitsubishi HSR, the most intelligent car ever built, brings the technology of tomorrow to cars from Mitsubishi today.
Again, welcome back to the old future. In the era of releasing more concept cars than ever before, the 1987 Tokyo Auto Show hosted the debut of many. It was believed by most manufacturers that the reputation of concept cars would enhance the corporate image and determine the destiny of their companies. Here, the HSR concept was shared with the intention to enhance electronic controls and have automated control of all vehicle systems. Specifically, these systems automatically controlled the drivetrain, suspension, steering, brakes, driving position, etc., according to driving conditions or weather. Equipped with a 2-liter turbocharged engine producing 295 horsepower, it prioritized both exhilarating performance and sophisticated control capabilities. Autonomous suspension control allowed for active dynamic leveling of the vehicle and cornering, with 4-wheel steering and ABS for further computer control. The innovative and forward-thinking technology continued to the interior of the HSR, where it seems the team threw every futuristic element they could at it just to see what might stick. Integrated into the cabin was a microphone and keyboard, night vision monitor, traffic weather report, and navigation system, meaning the HSR was ahead of its time in regards to creature comforts and convenience too. They were aiming for state-of-the-art, almost alien levels of technology. This out-of-this-world mission starts to become clear when it's shown how this testbed was presented and advertised, with cryptic and strange media we'll see with all HSR iterations. HSR-2. Aiming for a smooth, organic design, the HSR-2 shifted its focus towards active aerodynamics. Innovative movable fins and spoilers, coined active aero control, dynamically adapted to varying speeds and driving conditions, achieving drag coefficients ranging from an impressive 0.2 to 0.4. This groundbreaking research directly influenced the design of the production Mitsubishi GTO sports car, demonstrating the practical application of futuristic concepts that were cutting edge for the era. The results of this could be seen in the Mitsubishi HSX concept, which of course became a reality. Integrating all of these automated systems is the OSC-2, an advanced electronic control system made up of 7 computers. The OSC-2 also performed functions such as course tracing, automatic vehicle following, and automatic parking, earning it the computer midship nickname. It took an organic design combining functionality and beauty, as a result of pursuing the ultimate in high-tech. Power came from a 3-liter twin-turbo dual-overhead cam 24-valve V6 engine, an early 6G72 TT, producing 350 horsepower at 7,000 RPM, positioned in a mid-chassis layout. In my eyes, this concept served as an indication of what the pinnacle of all-in looked like for Mitsubishi Motors. But most importantly, without any defined game plan in mind. Many concept vehicles set out on a bold journey with no destination. But this project arguably led to the eventual success of the best of what Mitsubishi had to offer in full production form. Curiously adorning the top of the front compartment is a strange symbol, right next to the name of the car that is interestingly facing rearward. That figure is one of the Nazca lines, geoglyphs etched into the Nazca Desert in Peru millennia ago. This one depicts a bird and is measured 320 feet long and 216 feet wide in its actual form. Who knows Mitsubishi's intent with the inclusion of the ancient symbol backstory, but it surely adds to the alien relic vibe that designers were likely striving for. Polyphony Digital, creator of one of many Gran Turismo games that blessed my childhood, incorporated the HSR2 in Gran Turismo 4 in 2005. Impressively, the game developers even animated the rear active arrow flaps to initiate in coordination with steering and braking. The vehicle went on to be included in the 5th and 6th iterations, as well as the PSP version of the game. I personally strongly appreciate the progressive styling by Akinori Nakanishi, Mitsubishi's chief designer. It depicts bold 80s-90s futurism at its finest, striking a delicate balance between engineered performance and aesthetic value. If you couldn't tell already, I've grown quite partial to this one, even just for what it represents. I know I would take the same design approach and mentality. Shrouded only by its mystique and lack of historical detail, this will remain one of the most interesting vehicles ever quote-unquote produced. HSR3. Now this is where the HSR series of projects begins to slide off the rails. V3 was a departure from smooth simplicity to a more vision-forward design, arguably too exaggerated and far off the original mission. The Tokyo Motor Show in 1991 saw the introduction of the HSR3. Power for this one was from a 1.6-liter V6 6A10 engine. This was used in their small and medium-sized vehicles through the 1990s. Yeah, I had to read that data point twice. It was given the title as being the smallest modern production V6, and I wouldn't argue it. The small displacement was apparently offered so Japanese buyers could purchase a powerful engine while reducing their annual road tax obligation. Still in the 24-valve dual overhead cam configuration, this tiny motor produced 138 horsepower at 7,000 RPM. Some obscure specs, I know, but I guess every niche can be fulfilled. My sources lead me to believe that this stage was mid-engine rear-wheel drive, which only adds to the interesting nature of this small displacement engine layout. This V3 had a modular top for an open driving experience if desired, making it clear that passenger enjoyment is clearly more of a priority with this iteration. Bearing design language and bodily proportions reminiscent of Lotus vehicles, the styling was surely an attempt to draw interest over chasing low drag coefficients. HSR4. It seems as though with each passing iteration, we have less and less information. The Mitsubishi HSR4 was introduced in 1993. The same size 1.6-liter V6 engine now produced an impressive 180 horsepower. And this fourth concept car had a four-wheel drive system with anti-lock brakes. At this stage, the similar flowing style from the HSR3 developed further, pushing past the barrier of reasonable design yet again. The flared arches incorporated into the primary body lines was surely an interesting choice. In light of being a concept car after all, we can give this a pass. The initial rake of the bottom window line reminds me a bit of the Lamborghini Diablo, the way it tapers down. With some production refinement and a patient and open-minded rework, I could see how this could lead to a very interesting greenhouse shape and roofline for an actual vehicle. HSR5, 1995. Okay, now we've gone full spaceship in design, making it hard to validate or defend the styling cues. V5 featured the debut of Mitsubishi's gasoline direct injection, or GDI technology. Applied to a 1.5-liter dual overhead cam 16-valve 4-cylinder producing 145 horsepower. The rear fender flares that transition their way into a flat duckbill wing is wild to say the least. The 3-spoke scythe wheels remind me of the Dodge Viper wheels of the era, as well as a few others that followed a similar design. We're back to a pure aerodynamic bubble roof, this time with a power targa design, making the mid portion deployable from a raising rear glass section. The front and rear end have been reworked yet again, with a flatter wedge shape and more vents. This one is where they lost me, but as a mere concept, I'll reserve my judgment. HSR6, 1997. The last of the known HSR project vehicles, the 6th iteration was fitted with a 2.4-liter version of the same GDI engine, mated with a CVT. This was another tech heavy hitter, with priority set on safety, control, and efficiency. With the vision of, quote, mobility in the 21st century, it bared an aesthetic designed to coincide with modern urban architecture. This iteration again included four-wheel active steering, active yaw control, AYC, and adaptive suspension, allowing for varying heights, also to aid in entry or exit through its strange sci-fi door situation. The concept featured both manual and automated driving modes for occupants. Driving autonomy was courtesy of a four-way camera system and laser radar for road line and obstruction detection. In automatic modes, driving controls like the steering column retract and fold away for a more expansive cabin, while an alternate screen displays driving status or available traffic and weather information. In manual driving mode, this same screen displays the rearward camera view of the vehicle. The technology implemented in this concept was utilized in an aim to increase driver safety, with sensors to indicate distracted or drowsy occupants and collision avoidance to prevent issues altogether. Both of which are features we actually have today. At first glance, the HSR6 looks like an exaggerated waste of time, but upon further inspection, actually had quite a bit correct about where technology would be heading in years to come. Without taking some audacious steps to attempt ludicrous things, we would not be where we are technologically today. For that reason alone, I could see how a company can validate the effort for a venture like the HSR series was. Number 3. The Mirage Cyborg and Asti. Is this the Mitsubishi Honda Civic Type R? The Mitsubishi Mirage is a subcompact car that came about in the 1970s. Known for its affordability and fuel efficiency, the vehicle made its way through 6 generations of economy sedans and hatchbacks. With the 4th generation starting in October of 1991, arose the coupe model, the Mirage Asti, and hatchback, the Mirage Cyborg. Strange names that I haven't been able to find valid explanations for. Export names varied, with the 3-door referred to as Colt and the sedan or coupe often badged as Lancer. Point being, depending on your geographical location, these same cars could be referenced differently. Mirage models came equipped with varying drivetrains and configurations, hence the couple of rare models we are discussing here. Front-wheel drive was most common, of course, with all-wheel drive available for some models. Engines ranged from 1.3 to 1.8-liter NA4s, 1.8 and 2-liter turbocharged options, and 1.8 and 2-liter diesels. Interestingly, a V6 engine variant was also offered, with only 1.6 liters of displacement, making it the smallest mass-produced V6. Might sound familiar from the HSR concepts. The 1.8-liter turbo, producing 195 horsepower, was sold as the Lancer GSR in September of 1993, forming the basis of the Lancer Evolution 1 that used the 2-liter 4G63 engine from the successful Galant VR4 rally car we discussed earlier. The 4G92 engine placed in the Cyborg was the 1.6-liter dual overhead cam inline 4-cylinder with Myvec, producing 173 horsepower at 7,500 RPM. We are currently entering the world of low displacement NA engines, so let's calibrate ourselves a little bit. When looking at engines of this stature, it's often important to look at them in regards to power per liter. In addition to that, we can take power to weight ratio into consideration. With that in mind, this engine was cranking out 80 kilowatts per liter, which is astounding for the era. That's over 100 bald eagle units per half bottle of Coke. With an 8,200 RPM redline and a manual transmission, it's hard to find much to complain about, even despite the lack of turbocharger. As for weight, these cyborgs clock in at just over 1,000 kg, making the nearly 200 horsepower surprisingly adequate. Depending on trim, proper spec cyborgs could be optioned with front LSD, classic 90s spec confetti Recaro seats front and rear, with matching door cards, Momo steering wheel, and mats. Also, no power-operated amenities, for simplicity and weight savings, meaning manual seats, crank windows, no sunroof, etc. RS trims were stripped down offerings with no luxuries or power interior features, but did have power steering, a tried and true formula in the right hands. These can be seen as Mitsubishi's answer to the Honda Civic Type R, but if we're being more factual and period correct, it would be the EK Civic Si-R. Trustworthy resources for details on this chassis are few and far between, meaning production numbers and trim delineation are hard to pinpoint. The CA4A chassis designation identifies the earlier body style, and the CJ4A the later, bearing the same general design aesthetic, just with minor updates. Some production numbers information is available here via JDM database. The RS models in the mid-90s offered the stripped-down model for enthusiasts. Basics were removed, and few performance additions were made. For the CJ4A Mirage, that included seam-welded chassis, faster rack, and almost no sound deadening. Boxed control arms, slight lowering, and a few other small things. It would have been delivered with Steelies. Factory weight was 1,010 kilograms. The only two options available were AC and the LSD. Sweet and simple. Regardless of how you feel about this segment of car, I think you could consider this one of the unsung heroes of the hot hatches. Number 4. Delica Space Gear, the Go Anywhere, Be Anything van. The Mitsubishi Delica is a range of vans and pickup trucks hailed from Japan since 1968. Introduced as a cab-over van and pickup for large capacity in a small package. Interestingly, the Delica name comes from the contraction of the English language phrase delivery car. Due to its consolidated nature and intended purpose, the Delica is considered a K-class vehicle. K-cars are a category of small Japanese motor vehicles that are legal on expressways. The word K is short for keijidosha, which means light automobile or compact automobile. This can actually lead to some potential issues with imports to the States, with registration and on-road use in mind, despite being over 25 years old. Certain states will give you a lawfully difficult time due to its categorization as a K car. First-generation Delicas started production in 1968. These early models had tiny 1.1 or 1.4-liter engines, making 58 and 86 horsepower respectively. These small vans were popular in Japan and Southeast Asia and were manufactured in Japan and Indonesia. The redesigned second-generation Delica began production in 1979. Passenger versions were known as the Star Wagon, featuring seating for up to 8 occupants. Four-wheel drive, a feature that would come to define the Delica's go-anywhere character, became an option in 1982, sharing some components with early Mitsubishi Pajero or Montero models. It's important to note that Delicas of this era were rebadged and sold under Chrysler, Ford, Hyundai, Isuzu, and Mahindra nameplates around the globe. Similar cab-over vans and pickup models were also available well into the 2000s in some select markets. You won't see many early model Delicas imported, at least not to the States. Most opt for the third generation, which exudes that old futurism aesthetic I described earlier with the HSR. Third generation Delicas began production in 1986, running until 1993. This Star Wagon is the quintessential Delica that will come to mind for most of the people who are familiar with it. This iteration migrated from a body-on-frame chassis to a more car-like unibody construction. Despite this change, the vehicle still utilized a solid rear axle with leaf springs, and a traditional four-wheel drive system with 2-speed transfer case. This had a low range for off-road use. As for the front, the suspension had independent control arms with torsion bars, and the design continued with the drive cab over engine design formula, with no hood and tall presence. This Star Wagon, or L300 chassis, aided in the growing camper RV market in Japan through the late 80s and early 90s. These can be found almost exclusively right-hand drive, though very uncommon, they do technically exist in left-hand drive in few numbers due to some select markets. The Star Wagons could be had in a long wheelbase model as well. These are extremely rare to find imported into North America. These vans have a seemingly endless variety of options, configurations, engine choices, and trim levels. Let's touch on some of the most common and interesting ones. Many include front bash bars, often found paired with yellow fog lights, running boards or side steps, and more. Early models could have slider side windows, while later models had pop-out style ones offered. Delica models came with two main roof variations available, simply in the form of a high and low roof option. High roof variants allowed you a few more inches of headroom, especially in the rear. These could be equipped with a sunroof or the highly desired crystal light roof. This option features several panes providing abundant light and a more panoramic viewing experience from the rear passenger area. Crystal light roofs are accompanied by electric shades or curtains and fluorescent interior lights. Though intriguing, crystal light roofs are reportedly more prone to leaking and rust. All Star Wagon models feature rain gutters, allowing for roof rack system installation. Though high roof models need different racks to account for the extra height, preventing platforms from making contact with the rooftop. There are a multitude of trim levels. The most commonly imported are the basic GLX, the mid-grade Exceed, and the high-end Super Exceed. The Super Exceed gets lots of bells and whistles, interior upgrades, and so on. Then there are the ski-themed Charminix and Jasper models. These come with waterproof carpets, dual batteries, a limited slip differential, and more items aimed at winter sports enthusiasts. There are a slew of other differences, including power windows and locks, graphics, upholstery materials, wheel styles, and more. Inside these vans, you'll also find vast interior configurations. Up front, you'll find two bucket seats. The middle row, depending on the trim level, will have either a bench seat or two captain's chairs. Whether equipped with a bench seat or dual captain's chairs, occupants can sit facing the vehicle's front or rear, thanks to a reversible bench or swiveling seats. The third row has a bench seat, while the seat back can be folded down, thus creating a platform to sleep atop. Most L300s have a separate rear HVAC system, allowing occupants to control their own climate. Seating capacity is generally 7 people. The front seats have 3-point shoulder belts, but the rears are all 2-point lap belts. These vans are not equipped with airbags. Continuing the theme of unique optional features was the Cool Box, a small 12-volt fridge freezer located on the floor between the driver and passenger. Also, the audio stage karaoke machine, located in the back. Yes, I'm serious. As for driving characteristics, the experience can be described as driving how it looks. Tall and top-heavy, and slow. Corners must be taken slowly, and bumps are experienced quite differently with the high seating position over the engine, taking some getting used to. The large capacity for people and belongings, combined with low power figures, surely doesn't lend to an exhilarating experience of blistering performance, especially in the diesel models. With that said, these vans are surprisingly capable off-road, despite their unique shortcomings. Plenty of ground clearance, adequate approach and departure angles, and optional limited slip differential offers you plenty of off-road prowess, especially when equipped with proper all-terrain tires. In 1994, the Delica was redesigned again, and the Space Gear was born. The vehicle was no longer in a mid-engine configuration. The power plant was moved forward in front of the driver and placed under a traditional hood. The van got a much rounder look, on point for the era, and a revised now L400 unibody chassis designation. It maintained the solid rear axle, but with coil springs instead of former leaf springs. The front suspension was still independent and continued to use torsion bars. Whereas the previous vans used drum brakes, the Space Gear models now had discs front and rear on many models. The Space Gear represented a major step forward in terms of comfort, power, and drivability. While it didn't have the quirky, angular 80s shape, it was an improved product in many respects. The L400s have the same roof options as the L300s, despite its change in shape. This includes low roof, high roof, sunroof, and crystal light versions. Much like the L300 models, L400 vans came in a plethora of variants with just as many trims, if not more, including once again the so-called Winter Edition, Charminix, and Jasper Delica. Unlike the earlier models, the long wheelbase version became more commonplace. The seating situation is similar, but updated. Up front, you have 2 captain's chairs. The middle row most commonly has 2 captain's chairs on tracks that can slide forward and backward. With the pull of a lever, the seat bottoms will retract upward, allowing the seats to be stowed tightly against the front seats. Additionally, those middle seats can swivel 180 degrees. But the real show is the rearmost 2-piece bench. The seat backs recline, and then the entire seat can fold up and stow away against the vehicle's sides, opening the floor for cargo. All seats, the fronts included, will recline and lay flat to form a large platform for sleep. Some versions have motorized curtains that can open and close with the push of a button, which enhances your stay. The most notable improvement that came with the L400 would be the optional engine and transmission options, 9 of them in total globally. Most commonly, you'll find a 2.8-liter turbo diesel or a 3-liter gasoline V6. The 2.8-liter 4M40 turbocharged and intercooled diesel makes 140 horsepower and 232 pound-feet of torque. That's a big jump compared to the L300's offerings. The popular gas version implements a 3-liter 6G72 V6 engine, making 185 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque. The diesel can be had with a 4-speed automatic or 5-speed manual transmission. The V6 only comes with the automatic. Instead of the basic 2-speed transfer case for its 4-wheel drive system, many L400s get the more advanced Super Select T-case. This incorporates a center differential, giving drivers 4 drive modes: 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive high range with open center differential, 4-wheel drive high range with a locked center differential, and 4-wheel drive low with a locked center differential as well. That open differential allows the vehicle to operate more like an all-wheel drive vehicle than a 4-wheel drive unit. This makes it very good in rain, snow, and other low traction environments. It can also be used on dry pavement without damaging the system. As for driving characteristics, the Space Gear reportedly drives much more like a modern van or truck. Some may argue that the L300 is more capable off-road, but with the Super Select transfer case, you have more control. In 2007, we left the past behind and officially brought the Delica into the modern era. The D5 maintains the same spirit as the previous Delica vans, but is arguably more like a crossover or car-based van. Gone is the selectable transfer case, to much dismay, with an all-wheel drive system in its place. Power comes from either a 2 or 2.4-liter gasoline engine or a 2.2-liter diesel. All engines are mated to a CVT. The Delica is one of few vehicles I've covered that's still being produced today, be it with quite a different image and purpose than it began with. I'm certain that these were the cornerstone of their fair share of adventures. Hopefully, the off-road van culture could live on for decades to come. Number 5. RVR Hyper Sports Gear R. Did the Evo 3 really also come as a small SUV? Let's talk about this obscure lifted turbo hatch. The RVR Hyper Sports Gear was derived from the contemporary Lancer-based Chariot, with differences including a shortened wheelbase, a high roof body, and a sliding rear door on the left side. Additional features include a left front fender mounted mirror, a swing-out rear tire carrier, and integrated rear mudguards. The first generation RVR was introduced in February of 1991 as a compact NPV, multi-purpose vehicle, manufactured from 1991 to 2002 and supplied across many markets globally. The regular first generation RVR with no performance amenities or body kit was sold in Europe as the Mitsubishi Space Runner, and as a product of Diamond Star Motors, DSM, in the US as the Dodge or Plymouth Colt Vista, Eagle Summit Wagon, and Mitsubishi Expo LRV. It also shares a platform with the Mitsubishi Chariot, Nimbus, and Space Wagon, which also had a performance variant in Japan in the form of the Mitsubishi Chariot Resort Runner GT. Please bear with me as we navigate the excessively confusing and verbose suffixes of Mitsubishi's vehicle naming schemes. It does tend to get a little bit ridiculous and hard to follow. The Hyper Sports Gear Z sported a naturally aspirated 4G63, producing 158 horsepower. The top-of-the-line Hyper Sports Gear R model, however, was effectively an Evo 3 on stilts, using the 4G63T, a 2-liter 16-valve dual overhead cam turbo i4 engine, mated to either a 4-speed auto or 5-speed manual, which was not offered in North America. The open front and rear differentials were used on vehicles equipped with 4-wheel drive. Only 1,670 are thought to have been manufactured, sharing a drivetrain with the Galant VR4, as basically an early Evo on lower boost. This little one produced 247 horsepower at 6,000 RPM. Surely an impressive figure for such a nimble vehicle, weighing it at a class-neutral 1,490 kilograms. Fair enough considering its daily practicality. My research suggests this RVR was offered in only 3 paint colors: Pyrenees Black, Sophia White, and Astoria Green Legato Gray two-tone. Personally, I find the reasonably aggressive Evo-inspired bodywork to fare surprisingly well, as it carries a practical and powerful presence on the road. And lastly, once again, here's some honorable mentions. Magna Rally Art, 2002. A product of Mitsubishi Motors Australia Limited and Rally Art of Australia, the Magna Rally Art was an upgraded variant of the Australian exclusive model. Replacing its predecessor, the Sigma, the Magna spanned 3 generations of production, with the luxury model variant referred to as the Verada available for the 2nd and 3rd gen. In short, the Magna Rally Art was powered by the 6G74, a 3.5-liter V6 with power sent to the front wheels through a manual transmission and limited slip differential. Upgraded camshafts, cylinder heads, exhaust, and a higher compression ratio allowed for 240 naturally aspirated horsepower and 245 foot-pounds of torque. Additionally, larger brakes and Koni suspension were added to match. This Magna featured Rally Art branding throughout the interior and exterior body styling exclusive to this variant. A supposed mere 500 units were produced with no known exports. This one could have received its own entry due to obscurity, I just don't see the appeal yet. RVR Open Gear. Powered by a naturally aspirated 4G63, producing a modest amount of power, the Open Gear offered a strange body design with interesting redeeming qualities. This rare variant featured a power-operated sliding roof section. This retractable top allowed for an open experience without a full drop-top convertible design, all within the confines of a small MPV, or literal minivan. Despite its small stature, the RVR also had a lengthy interior, allowing for abnormally broad legroom, and adaptive rear seats that slid on rails and reclined fully, allowing for rest, making this open gear trim equipped for open-air freedom with extreme practicality as well. RVR Wild Gear. This variant featured 4-wheel drive and chassis protection in the form of tubular support front bull bar with yellow pod lights, sliders on the sides, and rear bars with a small integrated ladder. A safari-styled interior in addition to trim-specific exterior graphics denoted this interesting model. Production numbers of these various uncommon RVR variants have proven to be hard to guess, not to mention confirm factually, though they are clearly rare enough to make data research difficult. Pajero Mini. As a miniaturized K-car variant of the Pajero we covered in Part 1, this little vehicle offers functionality in a small package. Not to be confused with the Pajero Junior, another mid-size variant, believe it or not. Like the Delica and a few others, this is another car I was fortunate enough to see for myself at Mitsubishi Owners' Day this year. This compact vehicle gave you a subtle taste of the off-road prowess available in a smaller package, with the insurance and tax benefits that K-cars offer. Featuring, by no surprise, available 4-wheel drive and 3-gear transfer case, but with power courtesy of a naturally aspirated or turbocharged 659cc 4-cylinder engine, producing 38 or 47 kilowatts respectively. This sub-100 horsepower figure had adequacy and efficiency in mind. It's a bit of a conflict of interest, but an interestingly capable car nonetheless. The L200 Strada. The first-generation model of Mitsubishi's compact pickup truck was first sold in Japan as the Mitsubishi Forte in September of 1978. Later coming in many forms, all the way to the present day, the classic Mitsubishi L200, as was mainly referred to in its first generation, was rebranded to suit various global markets. The truck was referred to as Strada, Triton, Colt Trailbuster, Magnum, Cyclone, as well as the Ram 50 or Plymouth Aero Truck rebrand, and Mighty Max in the USA. The model name Stracar was used in Portugal in 1999, being a contraction of Strada and Dakar. In 2015, the Fiat Fullback, and in 2016, Ram Trucks launched a rebadged version as the Ram 1200 for the Middle East market. Imports of the L200 were limited to the United States due to a 25% import tariff on vans and light trucks. This ultimately led to Mitsubishi Motors abandoning the segment entirely there. Available in multiple gasoline and diesel powertrain configurations, the first generation usually came as a 1.6-liter gas or 2.3-liter diesel, amongst many other options. Cumulative sales of the first 3 generations of this truck exceeded 2.8 million units around the world. The 6th and current generation Triton was unveiled in July of 2023. featuring a new 4N16 turbo diesel. Available in markets for Thailand, Japan, the Philippines, Australia, New Zealand, Indonesia, Vietnam, and the Middle East, the truck continues production to the present day as of posting this video. Chariot Resort Runner GT. Name dropped briefly in the RVR entry, this MPV is essentially the sister variant of the RVR Hyper Sports Gear R, which shares the same platform. As a limited production four-wheel drive and turbocharged version offered only in Japan, the Resort Runner GT borrowed the powertrain from the Lancer Evolution and the Galant VR4. The beloved 4G63T and trustworthy all-wheel drive system and a compact, utilitarian form factor. Lastly, the Tradia and Cordia. The Mitsubishi Tradia is a subcompact sedan built from 1982 to 1990. Its name is supposedly derived from Mitsubishi's Three Diamonds logo. Sold alongside the Cordia, a compact hatchback coupe, and the Starion, it was one of the first cars imported and sold to America by the company, without the involvement of its then partner, the Chrysler Corporation. These vehicles were early stepping stones for Mitsubishi branching out into global markets. And now finally, that should be everything I care to mention when it comes to the obscurity of Mitsubishi. Once again, if there's anything you feel I've missed, or a detail I didn't get quite right, I welcome you to let me know. I want these videos and comment sections to continue to serve as a wealth of information. Can you guess what brand we're covering next? What would you like to see? Let me know. Until next time. Bye guys.